Hey everyone, I'm here with the lovely Jen, and Jen did 6 months of coaching with me, and she finished up a little bit over a month ago with me. And so we just did our check-in, a month post-coaching as well, and she's hopped on to kind of share a bit of her story, which is always excites me that clients are willing to do that because I feel like it reflects back more of what we experience or what we feel in our own life when we can hear it from somebody like Jen. So thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Cindy.
Jen, do you want to start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Um, I'm Jen. I am 45, turning 46 this year, I think.
Yes, you are.
Um, yeah, I'm a mom. I have a son who's 19. I'll be celebrating my 4-year wedding anniversary next month to my husband Joe. I am a child and youth counselor. I work for the Thames Valley District School Board. So I just experienced my first summer off, which has been really a blessing. I am a worshiper. I love the Lord. I'm really involved in my church, which is Impact Church in London. Um, I also sing for the London Gospel Collective. So singing and music and worship and family and friends is a big part of my life.
Yes, Jen is always go, go, go. When we were coaching together, that was one of the things we worked on is carving out a few minutes of just quiet solo Jen time. Because also Jen likes to take on new projects, even though she has a million projects on the go. So she's always on the go somewhere, always social, or always just being really creative with herself. So one of the things we, yeah, like I said, did work on was trying to get you some like quiet breathing time and getting you to work on those sleep habits as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's paint the picture. So I think a good place to start would be like where were you before you started coaching? Like tell us about your experience with what were your goals, your experience trying to reach them, what had you tried, and then kind of where we landed on the coaching call.
Yeah. I've always been fairly active. Like Cindy says, I always have a lot of projects on the go. I was a single mom before I met my partner, and so yeah, I was always busy. He was really involved in sports, so I always really enjoyed just kind of being active and we did a lot of like football and catch and a lot of things together. When he'd go to football, I'd walk the track. So I was always very active. I've always loved um, like working out and doing different workout groups and things like that. I've done a ton of personal training things in my life, food, nutrition. Like that's always been something that's always been a priority for me. Um, I feel like over COVID was probably the time in my life where I was the most physically fit. And I think that's because I had the most time to be able to focus, working from home and being at home. Um, but yeah, and then of course I met my partner and yeah, I feel like just over the last couple years too, going into my 40s and kind of entering into the perimenopausal stage of life, weight loss became a lot harder, a lot different. Like my body changed a lot, I think, too, where it used to be easy for me to lose weight. I could really focus and be dedicated and do physical workouts and notice changing right away. And I was finding like as I was getting, into my 40s, it became a lot harder. And the things that I used to be able to do weren't really working for me. So I was always really big into cardio. And so I was learning that, cardio is great, but maybe I need to start lifting more and doing more of that. And so I've done a lot of Cindy's programs, even like the Get Me Through the Holidays challenges and things like that. Or even just like listening to all of her online things as far as like, for women over 40 and, just what perimenopause life looks like and how, sleep and all those things are important. So, yeah, I feel like I've always kind of known I wanted to do this program with Cindy. But for me, I always found a way to rationalize that I either wasn't ready or I wasn't going to be dedicated enough, or maybe it wasn't going to be a financially feasible thing. And so it took Charisse actually going through the program and me seeing her results, and just to decide that what I'm going to invest in myself. I love to shop. I love to bargain shop. I love to thrift shop. I I can rationalize spending money on things that I like and I enjoy. So why can't I do that for myself physically? And so, yeah, so Cindy and I connected, and honestly, the 6 month experience was exactly what I needed, and it worked out really well with my career and timing. I with having the summer off, it really did give me time to invest in myself and to slow down and to have slower mornings and to say no, to learn that saying no is actually a blessing and that I don't have to be all things to all people. And yeah, it's been a big change. Even to
Yeah.
friends where I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm prioritizing my sleep, so I need to be home by this time. Like, you know, there it really did change a lot of things for my life for the better.
Yeah. So I want to table the coaching just for a little bit. So first, have you always struggled with weight? Is that ultimately was your goal like, hey, I need to lose weight? Like, what was your biggest vision from like, I'm going to do this differently this time? Because this was also your first time having a coach. You'd had
Mm-hmm.
personal trainers, but never a coach that was kind of day in and day out with you for 6 months.
Mm-hmm. I think I've struggled with body image all my life. Like I can even remember being in high school and feeling like I didn't feel comfortable in my own body. And and you look back at pictures and I was like, wow, like look at how look at how fit I was, or look at how tiny I was, where I didn't realize it at the time. And even after having my son, like I guess maybe body image distortion mindset was I thought I was a lot bigger than what I was. But I really did notice over the last like 2 or 3 years how my body had changed, how my clothing had changed physically. Like things that I used to do were harder. Walking for 45 minutes with a weighted vest used to be easy, and then it became a lot harder. And I'm like, okay, something has to change. What am I doing differently? And I really think that I kind of had stopped moving, so I wasn't moving as much, or I wasn't doing the right things that I needed to do, um, just as I was getting older and entering again into this perimenopausal stage of life, which I'm still kind of going through, but
Yeah.
it was a big change for me, and I was finding myself really discouraged because I had a lot of mindset, I had a lot of tools, I had a lot of information, I knew what I needed to do, but the things that used to work were no longer working, and I didn't really understand why, and I was getting really frustrated and really discouraged. And people would say to me like, "Wow, like you're so motivating." And I'd go out for my hour long walks on my lunch break every day, but physically, my body wasn't changing. I was just still being active. So I felt like the coaching is really what I needed. I really needed that accountability partner to challenge my thinking. Like Cindy was never, you were never like a drill sergeant telling me what to do. If anything, you would challenge my thought process on things. And the mindfulness piece was something that I really did need in order to implement like lasting changes, really.
Yeah. So
So,
we did 6 months. So I think one is not everybody starts off with 6 months. What led to your decision with 6 months? Because also we started towards the beginning of the year, which took you through a new position that you had. So what did that look like going through the tail end of the school year and then transitioning into summer when you were off? So you got to kind of got two versions of the plan. So what made you
mm,
think like, hey, I need 6 months? Because I remember it.
yeah. The 12 weeks was pretty transformational for me. Like, even the first 10 days and the elimination, like I saw a big change. And for what I thought was going to be like impossible and really difficult, actually really wasn't. And it really gave me a clear idea of how, sugar and, different, like even dairy and all these things impact my physical health. Right. So after the 12, so that was the beginning of it. The 12 weeks, I realized that I have the information, I have the knowledge, but knowing my life, my busy life, my schedule, it will be really easy for me to get distracted and not continue. So that's why I was like, okay, I need to continue on, and it would work out perfectly because the 6 months would take me through the summer, and I know I've never had an entire summer off, right? I really wasn't sure what it was going to look like, so I'm glad that we did the 6 months because we created a lot of habits and many goals. Every time we met, we created new goals. So like looking back, there were many goals that I achieved in the last 6 months. I'm really,
Yeah.
really proud of that I probably would have never done on my own without you as my coach.
Yeah, so the things, so I guess like what you were used to doing is like you would do personal training and you would focus on the exercise piece. You would do this part with nutrition, you would just focus on the nutrition piece. When we did coaching, we did all of the pieces kind of together simultaneously, which feels
Hmm.
overwhelming to someone who's over here and be like, my plate's already full. How
Hmm.
did it feel kind of working on sleep? We worked on mindset, we worked on like we even organizing a part of your house became part of it as well. Like, how did we manage all of that on top
Hmm.
of like all of the different ways that you were involved in your community and your worship with your relationships, all of that?
Hmm. Well, it really helped me to learn how to actually prioritize what's important and even just to be aware of, okay, these are all of the things I want to do, but what are the things that I need to do right now? Right. And a lot of times I'm like the girl that you see on my husband sends me these videos all the time on Facebook. Like she's doing the thing and then she's doing the thing and then she started the thing and then she's doing the thing. And I get super distracted, right? I'll be like, okay, I'm going to do this one project. And then all of a sudden I'm doing seven all at the same time. And then I'm overwhelmed and I'm exhausted. And now I'm just going to relax because I'm so like just done. I don't even know where to start now. Right. So with the coaching, it really just helped me like just take things one step at a time, even planning out like, okay, if I'm not hungry during the day, I still need to plan my food so I can have balanced meals so that I'm not going to be snacking at night because that impacts weight loss, that impacts sleep, that impacts, all the things. And even just being like Cindy was able to help me point out like, well, the reason that you want to do all these things is because these things are impacting like your central nervous system. So when these things are done, then you can feel at peace. So how can we work on these things so that you can focus on having peace? So there were so many pieces to that, Cindy, that was really helpful. Even like taking time to journal or just like thinking about different intentions or like kind of looking back, and there was pieces where I had to score myself, and there were times I was really hard on myself, and you were like, okay, but why, like why did you give yourself this instead of this? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, maybe I can give myself a little bit of grace there. Or there were times where I did give myself grace, where I thought, okay, I did the thing, and then somebody's like, okay, you did the thing, but what about if you would have implemented this? And then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so now I'm coming up with excuses, right? So it really did give me different insights into how I can rationalize things, but also like knowledge to be able to make, I guess, the habit something that I can continue to do going forward.
Yeah, because like your schedule didn't ease up. You still had like the choir, you still had your worship, and you still had to practice your singing when you were in worship. You still had your marriage. You had your teen son that moved in and out of the house. Like he was out and then he was back in and then he was into working out with you and then not. And then you had your
Yes.
husband who changed his nutrition in the middle of it as well. Like he was like, no. And then you also did like camping seasons when school was out. You did the end of the and you did lunches out with coworkers and stuff like that. Like there were nights where you were like working, like you don't live in London, so you were working in London. You had to stay until you had a huge break in between to get you to the next thing, like their choir practice or whatever that looked like. Like you did all of those things when life was still happening.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that that's like you, in general, you are pulled in many different directions as well. It's easy to see how when you know, how your husband sends you those memes or whatever, how it's like, hey, I really want this, but how it becomes the last priority because you're trying to figure out how to manage all of those other things. And by the time you feel like I'm managing, then I'm not managing, then it's like, I'm ready for bed.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, so thinking about going back to what you said about but let's go with nutrition. So thinking about, hey, what I used to do no longer was working. What did finally work for you in terms of nutrition?
Yeah. Well, the good thing, like through your program, I was able to know about macros and what I should be eating and what foods are considered a protein versus a fat, right? Like sometimes we think, oh, I'm going to add granola or I'm going to add nuts. Well, none of those things are protein, right? But so I learned a lot through that coaching as well of what foods are going to fuel my body. And because I know that my appetite, I don't really have as much of an appetite during the day as I do in the evening, um, for medication or even just because I have I'm busy, and then in the evening I've slowed down a bit. So I'm like, oh wow, my body's telling me that it's hungry now, right? So some of the things that were really helpful was like preparing meals, right? Like pre-planning what I was going to eat. Um, And also like having balanced meals that had carbs, fat, and protein, or prioritizing my protein um, first with each meal so I can make sure I'm hitting kind of what I need physically, right? And also so that I'm not going to be hungry later on in the evening. So what we really needed to do was I had to set strict time frames for them, not really strict, but I had to set times to be able to eat those meals throughout the day so that I wasn't going to be hungry or grazing throughout the night. And that was really, really transformational for me on a physical level, on a weight loss level. And so my body kind of adjusted to where it was like, okay, maybe I am hungry. Maybe I just didn't notice that I was hungry because I was just busy doing stuff, right? So yeah, I think pre-planning the meals, like being at work, was helpful because I would make my
Yeah.
lunch, I would pack my food, and I would know, okay, this is what I have to eat throughout the day. So I was able to stay on track a lot easier than, let's say, when I'm off work, right? So I really had to be intentional on, okay, what I did there, I can still do at home. I need to, again, plan my meal times, prioritize the protein, not eat out a lot. Like when I'm in the city, like you said, sometimes if I didn't plan ahead, I'd be ordering food or eating out later. It'd be like 9 o'clock before I'd eat, or on a Sunday morning before being on the worship team. I don't like to eat before I sing. So what can I have? Either after, whether it's a protein shake or get up early and have a protein shake, so I at least have something, right? So I really had to plan. I really had to spend a lot of time implementing that, but it wasn't a negative thing. It was really positive because, again, if I didn't plan ahead, I was going to plan to fail. I would be spending extra money. It's really hard to sometimes find healthy options if you're looking at a fast food restaurant, right? So instead of going to Tim Hortons, maybe I go into Farm Boy and I grab something. So yeah, Cindy gave me lots of insights on kind of foods I could be eating on the go that would be better for me than, plus
Yeah.
track. Like I've always kind of been a food tracker. Like I've done Weight Watchers, like I've done my Fitness Pal on and off for years. So tracking works really, really well for me. I remember when we were finishing our program and you were like, okay, how do you feel about not tracking? I was like, oh my gosh, like if I'm not tracking, I'm not going to be so much aware of what I'm going to eat. It's going to be a struggle. But then there was also this freedom that I was like, oh, this feels so good. I'm not tracking. I'm going to go off what I know, right? So I feel like it's nice to have a balance of both, at least for me.
Yeah, because tracking is a tool. The goal is not to track our entire time of our life, right? And I've always
Yeah.
liked testing clients who stay with me longer term to see what it feels like to not track, to see what thoughts, feelings, or whatever come up, right? So that we can see what's underneath the
Mm-hmm.
layer, the like peeling back the onion and seeing what's underneath all those layers. Now,
Mm-hmm.
eating slow was something that we worked on and eating mindfully. So, someone with a
Yeah.
squirrely brain with lots of things on the go, eating mindfully was tricky and eating slow. Can you talk about those two things?
Yeah. Like even, well, like even as a busy mom, like I was always eating on the go, or we were always like going from A to B. Um, I've always, even like out with friends, I was always usually the first one done my meal. Because if I'm talking or I'm engaging, I'm not even paying attention. So the mindful eating was really good. It also helped me think about, what am I eating? What does it taste like? Like I was enjoying my food a lot more. And to do it without being distracted makes a big difference. Like not scrolling on my phone, or like not reading emails while I'm eating. Like there are many times I'd use my lunch break and I'd go for my walk, but then I would eat my lunch at my desk so that I could at least get my physical work in. But by doing that, I was distracted and I was just eating and not really paying attention to when I was full.
Yeah.
Um, and growing up, like it was always like you need to finish all the food on your plate. Like that was just the expectation. And so and or even as a mom, like I would finish the food that my son didn't finish, when he was younger,
Yeah.
and it's
You grew
not
up with
healthy.
two
That's not a
brothers
healthy
too.
lifestyle. Pardon?
You grew up with two brothers too.
True. True.
You're like, don't eat it all.
But yeah. And so yeah, it really did change things when I would just
Yeah.
try to be present and acknowledge what I'm eating and think about like, oh, do I really need to eat more? Like, can I save the rest of it for later if I don't want any more? I'm not enjoying the taste anymore. I'm probably full. And it's okay to throw this food out. Like my husband, like his church, like, growing up, that was the mindset is like, the garbage can. I can't remember what the expression is, but like the garbage can doesn't gain weight. Like throw the food in the garbage can, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But what was I going to say? It was also part of our strategy to get you to kind of like calm down your nervous system too, right? Because you are very high energy and always on the go. So you slowing down to eat was like getting you these little bits of moments of time where it was like, okay, I can bring down that nervous
Hmm.
system down a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, you had some back injuries as well. So tell us about like, one in full transparency, like working out is something that you struggle with, not that you don't struggle to do, like you love doing it when you do it, just the consistency of doing it is something that
Mhm.
you kind of struggle with. So, but you also had back injury as well, where it's like chronic inflammation or pain that comes up. So, what
Mhm.
did you learn about exercise that was maybe different than what you were used to doing?
Um, well, I've always done a lot of cardio. So I've learned that even getting into this stage of life, like the importance of lifting and like doing more kind of weight training is something that my body physically needs. And like I said, over the last 4 years, the things that used to work were no longer working. And so, just walking or cardio or going to the gym and going on the elliptical or whatever, it wasn't working. I know that I enjoy like classes with people. Like I love doing Zumba classes or I love doing a workout class. But for me, like that's more the social physical aspect of it that fills my heart and brings me joy as an extrovert. But I really needed to learn to love to be able to physically, lift weights and do different things. And if I do it on my own, I'm not as disciplined. I know that. So I like that, there's videos and things you can send me, or because you're aware of like I've had chronic inflammation, which is probably related to stress and just constant being on the go or not having good sleep and central nervous relate like system issues as well. But I've always kind of had like chronic low back pain and, if I've gained weight, it's worse. It's I could injure it doing something silly like bending down to pick up a laundry basket, or if I lift a certain way or bend a certain way, and there's no way to know when it's going to happen. But when it happens, I'm out of commission for a good like 10 days,
Mhm.
and in physical pain, and that's not something I enjoy because I don't like to just be still, and there's always things to do, right? So sometimes that's my body's way, I guess, of telling me like, Jen, you're gonna have to slow down whether you like it or not, right? So
In case you can't see me, I'm nodding my head. Yes.
yeah,
It's
no, I
like
can
when
see
we
you.
ignore all of the signals going up, along the way, then it'll sound the alarm and make you do it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, like the big part of coaching was like, okay, let's kind of reframe the mindset on working out, and like, it's great to get this many steps in and to be moving and to be active, but also we want to build muscle because we want to strengthen your back, we want to strengthen your core, we want to be able, so that you can lift and be healthy without injuring yourself. So one of the things through the program was Cindy would send me like modified workouts. And if I felt like, okay, these workouts weren't challenging enough, I need something more, she'd send me kind of like a different level of a workout. So I really did enjoy that. That was helpful for me. I could do it at home, I could do it at the gym, I could do it at work. But I know that it's not something that I was able to be really disciplined in. It oftentimes I would sacrifice my working out for whatever I saw or was distracted with. Like, we were talking about that earlier, is that I'll be going to bed thinking I'm going to get up and I'm going to work out in the morning. It's going to be the first thing I do. And then I get up and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to put the dishes away, or I'm going to do this. And the next thing I know, the day's gotten away and I'm like, oh, it's okay if I don't work out.
Hmm.
And then I feel bad, and then I'm hard on myself because I didn't do it. But at the same time, I know if I do it, I'm going to continue and it's going to be progress, right? And progress over perfection is always the goal. So yeah, that's something that I'm still working on even after our 6 months, is how do I prioritize this in a way that it's not something I have to do, but it's something that I truly genuinely want to do. I love working out. When I do it, I like it. I loved it when I started the program. My son and I would go to Fit for Less. He loves working out. He was kind of coaching me, and that was something that I really enjoyed. And then he went away to college in Windsor, and then I was kind of like, oh, I don't really want to go by myself. Mostly because I felt uncomfortable. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like I was going to look silly at the gym by myself. So then once I kind of got over that, I just put my earbuds in and I do like the lean and mean workouts there, and it's fine. It's just now I'm home and it's the summertime, and I'm not at the gym, so now I'm trying to be consistently able to implement that into my life at home,
Yeah.
which has been a struggle, to be honest, over the summer.
Yeah, yeah. And I listen, I like that we're going there, right? Like that we're because I think you came in thinking that nutrition was the biggest thing you needed to learn. And I'm not saying it wasn't, but it was the thing
Right,
that was easiest for you to grasp. Felt like the
right.
biggest hurdle for you to understand, easiest one for you to like transition and grasp and do. And then it was like all of a sudden it was the exercise stuff. You're pretty
Yeah,
good at like hitting your steps, you're pretty good at like general movement. It was just the actual workouts that were a little bit of a struggle. So I think, it just takes more practice because I think, again, you came in thinking it was going to be nutrition, grasped it pretty easily,
yeah,
and it was the reverse,
yeah.
actually.
That actually did surprise me, but it makes sense.
Yeah. What did you learn the most about yourself?
Um, I just really had I really had a hard time saying no. Like I have this people pleasing, I don't know what mindset or what, that I often was all things to all people, and I really wasn't putting myself first. So I really like one of the habits we worked on was setting boundaries, and how can I set boundaries, and even in my own home with my family, I'm like, oh, it's time to go to bed, I'm going to sleep now, and I'm not going to be mindlessly scrolling on my phone, I'm going to spend time, maybe I'm going to listen to worship, maybe I'm going to be reading a devotional, maybe I'm going to be writing or journaling. Like I have been a singer my whole life, even as a kid, and I've always wanted to write songs, and I've written many different things, but never anything that I ever felt was meaningful or anything I would share with the world in any way. So that was another like goal and challenge, is that Cindy's like, make time to write, make time to journal, make time to write music, make time to do the things that you've always wanted to do, instead of doing the things that you feel you have to do or that you've said yes to. So even for like my family and some of my friends, like I I guess I got more comfortable setting boundaries, and for some they were like why? Like, some of my friends were like, why? And I'm like, you can do this, but I don't want to do this. So I'm going to I'm going to not volunteer my time, right? Or I'm not going to stay up and continue watching Netflix until midnight because I have things I want to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to bed now, right? So there were so many different shifts. I don't know if I answered your question or not, Cindy, but
No, I think
I
that's good
think
because I think that like that's a fear as well for people. So I think you've highlighted something in the sense of like people will make the change, want to make the changes, but they're also fearful of how that might change some of their relationships or it
Mhm.
might change something about them. So I'll give you an example is like people will come to me and be like, well, if I'm not operating at a 10 out of 10 at work, then I'm not the best employee that I need to be. If I'm not operating at a 10 out of 10 as a mom or as a wife or in my church or whatever, then I'm not that person. And so, and then it's really looking at testing that. All right, well, what would a 9 out of 10 look like and feel like? Are you less than or whatever? So I think it's like what you've highlighted is great because I think it's an underlying fear that people have is how do I let go of the reins and not feel less than in doing so? But you still were able to show up as a great wife, as a great mom, and as a great friend, even though you were putting in boundaries. Would you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of surprised myself a few times because I could be easily like, I don't know if sucked in is the right word, where I would just say, fine, okay, I'll do it. But I was like, no, this is important to me. And this is more important to me than your approval or, you know,
Yeah.
your acceptance or whatever. So I'm going to just do it. And it probably was easier than what I thought it was going to be. And, you know, but at the same time, yeah, I really did need to put me first, and
Yeah.
and really that allowed me to do it, and even just taking time to slow down and just to be present and to be like more engaged in my own personal life. Like I really did need that time, and one of the things that I said I really wanted was like slower mornings. Like my whole life I've been like rush here, rush there, rush here, rush there, and I, believe it or not, I hate being late, but I was always late for things, and I was learning, like, as an adult with ADD, that there's some grace that can be given for that. And it's not that I intentionally like to be late or that other people aren't important to me. It's sometimes I really struggled with prioritizing things and managing things, and I was trying to do all the things that the time really just was like, okay, that's not important as long as I get this done because intrinsically I need to do it for myself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So this allowed me maybe like to learn how to manage my time better, to prioritize things better, to focus on what are the things that I really need to do to help like with my central nervous system and to have some peace in my own physical like body to be able to relax and just be present and enjoy my home or my life or you know what I mean
Yeah.
conversations with friends or meals like it really was full circle like I it wasn't even nutrition and food that I really needed I needed that I needed that part to be able to find myself and what I needed and just to slow my life and my brain down I
Love
guess
that. What are you most proud of?
um that I started that I said yes right like I'm proud that like I consistently tracked. I showed up. I did the things. I held myself accountable when I might not have before. I'm proud of the fact that I was engaged and dedicated throughout the whole 6 months, I feel like. And of course all the changes, like, you know, not only are all these things rewards, but even when we had our like coaching meetings, you would be like, okay, well, how are you going to reward yourself now? And I'm like, oh, I feel like I've already been rewarding myself. But even to have that moment to be like, no, no, you should give yourself another reward. And maybe before it might have been like food. I'm going to reward myself with food, you know,
Yeah.
and so even changing the mindset on I don't need this because I've earned it. I don't need this because I'm going to give myself a reward. If I want it, I'm going to have it. And if I'm going to have it, I'm going to be okay with it. Right. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I'm proud of all the aspects
Yeah. I
because
love
again,
that.
it wasn't just food or nutrition or working out. It really it was like a full educational experience on like life and prioritizing and setting goals and creating habits and like you know engaging with other women who are going through similar things and having similar struggles and my relationship with food and you know my relationships with people and who I want to be versus who I was showing up as and yeah there I'm just I'm just grateful.
Yeah.
It was the
Ah.
best timing in my life to be able to do this, honestly. It was the perfect timing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, right? It's like the perfect timing, but you entered it still having doubt about yourself.
Oh
Can
yeah.
I follow through? Can I do these things? Am I just going to do this and then divert my attention elsewhere? And you did it. You followed through on it. So it's perfect timing in the sense of like you looked back on hindsight and you're like, it was the perfect timing. What would you say to a woman who is feeling the way you were feeling, like I'm doing all of the things and it's not adding up? What do you say to her who's listening to this now?
Hmm. Um, I mean, it can be discouraging if you're trying to do it all on your own. And sometimes we need someone to help us, right? Like Cindy and I have been friends for many, many years. So going into this was, okay, it's not going to be friend Cindy, it's going to be coach Cindy. Like you need to be able to separate the two things. But what I value a lot about it is that we were able to do that. And I really needed that accountability partner. And it couldn't be my husband. It couldn't be my bestie. It couldn't be my son. It really had to be you or like a coach, someone who can kind of be a neutral person, but also help me to focus on what I want. It
Yeah.
was never what you wanted, Cindy. It was what I wanted. And you really just helped me to find out what that was and how to get there. And I could articulate things to you, but not really truly know what it is that I needed. But together we were able to be like, okay, well, what I'm hearing you say is this. So what about this? And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's exactly it. And throughout the process, like looking back we can see all of the goals that we attained all of the things that I wanted to do I was able to do and if I wasn't able to do it we can change it we can adjust it we can accommodate it we can you know so that it didn't feel impossible it never felt like I can't do this or I don't even know why I signed up right it was like
That's
I
good.
was expectant and I was excited because it was something that I was committed to. And again, I think because the program was designed around like a holistic life transformation, right? It wasn't just around nutrition. It wasn't just around fitness. Um, it actually was more than I expected, to be honest. It was more than what I
Ah.
thought it was going to be, I'm glad it was because it was those other things that I really did need to feel confident, to feel comfortable. I can remember like even my first photo like of our like when we you know we were going to take a photo of
Yeah.
ourselves. I'm in my bathing suit and I was just disgusted looking at it. There was a time where I genuinely like I loved myself. I loved the way I looked, but I didn't like how I looked in my own skin at that point, right? So here I am 6 months later and I I didn't lose the 40 pounds like I thought I was going to, which at one point was discouraging, but I lost many inches and I felt better physically and I had more energy and I really enjoyed making foods that fit my body or even knowing what I should eat and what I shouldn't eat for me, for my body,
Mhm.
not not because it's good or bad or wrong or right, right? Um, and two, like people are asking me questions like, what are you doing? Or you look really well, like you look so good, or have you lost weight? And like that feels good too, but it's
Yeah.
it's not for them, it's for me. So, you know, and it never feels good when someone's like, oh wow, you've gained weight. Like, what are you doing? You look like you've gained weight. Like, obviously I know I've gained weight. Like, you
Yeah.
know feels
Yeah.
a lot better when someone's like, wow, you look really good, like what have you been doing, and then I can tell them.
Yeah. Yeah. Any last kind of words of wisdom or anything you'd like to share to a woman who is listening to this and can see themselves in parts of your story but isn't taking the leap yet?
um well, the cool thing is that there are so many women that are all going through the
Yeah.
same thing,
Yeah.
right? And like, I'm pretty blessed that I have a friend group that I've been friends with. Cindy is in that group since high school, and we're all kind of going through the same stuff. We're all kind of experiencing the same things as we're entering into our 40s, and it's all just a little bit different, but really like this, it's good. It's good to be accountable. It's good to have someone help you kind of figure out what it is that you need or what you want. And if you've been doing it on your own and it's not working, it's not worth the stress. It's not worth the frustration. It's not worth the confusion or even the lack of confidence. Like, yeah, the progress is worth it, and it's worth just saying yes to.
Yeah.
And like I said, it wasn't. I was worried that I wasn't ready, and it wasn't the best timing. Like, I was in a new job, and my son was going away to college. I was going to be an empty nester. Like my husband and I would have to find a new like groove in our home. All the different things, and I'm just really grateful that I said yes. And so, if you are considering it, if you're thinking about it, call Cindy. Like the first part is just in a meeting and an introduction. And what I really loved, I think a lot, is that Cindy, you were like, I'm not just going to take a client to take a client. Like
No.
there are people that this program will not work for, and I'm not going to have them invest in me or in themselves if they're not ready. So if you aren't sure if you're ready, if you aren't sure if you're committed, just make a call. Just talk. She'll be open. She'll be honest. And for me, I really needed to take that first step, or I just would have kept making excuses, and I know I wouldn't be where I am right
Yeah.
now, and I wouldn't feel how I feel right now, and it's a lot better than what it was.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks so much, Jen, for sharing.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Cindy.